Glorify the King. Almighty Yahweh, your Son come again to talk to your nation, your nations of this world, as I glorify the King. On a Sunday afternoon, in the kingdom of Yahweh, the average Bahamian in trouble. Many of my brothers and sisters today have not yet, perhaps, had a meal. So I call on Yahweh to intervene. The nation leaders, in my humble opinion, have sold out the average Bahamian meal for a bowl of porridge for them and for their families. Friends, families, and lovers. But may Yahweh's name be elevated now, because the men and the women responsible, they're still in power. Now, the last time I checked, as it relates to the kingdom of the Bahamas, and as it relates to every nation on the face of this earth, that bear witness to the signing of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. For those who are still alive, who would have fight the good fight in respect to World War II. My grandfather, the great warrior of the Hebrew people race, I thank the Most High for his love and for his kindness. He has shown all nations. He has made every nation beautiful, haven't he? Haven't he given every nation great knowledge and insight in respect to how to feed themselves? For some, it's our natural resources, our natural abilities and talents. In 2013, in the Bahamas, after 21 years of governing of the people of God, Hebrew people, hear me, the nation resources are plundered in my spiritual opinion, my human being opinion. Every opinion that makes me a human being helps me to formulate this opinion. The men, particularly in this conversation, as it relates to collective powers, and women are responsible for great hardship in my country, in my kingdom. This country belongs to everyone. Under these sacred documents, which nation is male or female that consider themselves a male nation or a female nation, and its heads of governance wish to tamper in 2013, the 11th day of the 5th month. I say to the 22 or 23 men, I haven't watched television for so long, I don't know the number. Whatever the number is, when I do find out, then Yahweh will speak again. However, let Yahweh reign as the sun rain upon the good and the bad in this country. A lot of my brothers who Yahweh desire are in that prison today, many of which do not know. Yes, the question is asked, or the statement or the comment was made, they had 3 meals so far for today. The point being, my brothers are in that prison, and many of which do not have an ambushed person to defend their constitutional right, 40 years in governance of an independent country. It is absolutely atrocious. It is absolutely 1948. And the reason why 1948 in respect to world history, foreign affairs, in respect to every nation on the planet. From Yahweh throne, red, gold, and green, and blue, and the colors of the rainbow emanates from it in a circle. Let the Most High be glorified in the lives of people. This is the new order from the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. I am only his mouthpiece. I'm only his humble servant. I'm only his brother. I'm only his handmaiden. I'm only his salt and a grain of it. But let 1 grain of Yahweh anointed salt fall upon this earth now, so the nation's leaders may know that you cannot kill what you did not create. You did not create the sun, so you cannot kill the knowledge of it. You did not create the people of the book, the great and wise Hebrew people. The offspring lives today. The question for London, England, the British Parliament, Congress, the United States Congress, every state legislator on the face of the planet, every male and female that make them up, the question Yahweh have for you today on his day, Yahweh's day. What did my sons in the Bahamas, Amos, J's for Justice, Miller Israel, you have given him a title, a surname. What is the meaning of it? Would the history book be opened to him? Would he be considered an honorable part of history? Or would he be considered a disgrace of history? Was history for one generation and not for the other? Is the future for one generation and not the other? Is the natural resources of the Commonwealth of little kingdoms the most super power little nation on the planet and in this world? Is the natural resources in this country belonging to General Electric, belonging to Lime, belonging to Bahama, belonging to Atlantis, belonging to Breezes, belonging to Sandals, belonging to Aga Khan, the King of Spain, Her Majesty Elizabeth Alexander Mary II, reigning sovereign over Britain. It is declared before this country turned 40 years of age, and before Her Majesty, reigning sovereign, before now, over the Bahamas, the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, now known to the world and the world system and the world governments as the Kingdom of the Bahamas, by which it stands. One God, we're united through one God, one faith, in love and in service. It is the service part that Yahweh question and have a problem with. I lift up my head to the rising sun, because God, Yahweh, is holy in the name of the Yeshua, the Christ. I come in the name of Christ, the Yeshua, a Hebrew name, a name not known to my Bahamian brothers and to my Bahamian sisters, to as much as I wish know who knows the name Jesus. Let all heaven and earth bear witness of this day, that this young man did not deny the name that was forbidden by the Jews, for the Jews. Yet in sacred scriptures, sacred texts, word of Yahweh, He have called me, He have called you, He have called my children, He have called your children, whether they are black or whether they are white, gods. If you know and are taught His truth, not man's truth, not man lies, God's truth. God's truth takes you into the realm of righteousness. Righteousness exalts a nation. Wickedness and sin and corruption, which is sin, which is corruption. You're corrupt if you have a wife or a husband and you're indulging in adultery. Can I make this tape and say to the world, I was not guilty? There was a time when I did not know many things. I thank then the God of heaven and the God of this earth and the God of the beautiful ocean that surrounds this beautiful superpower little nation called the kingdoms of God, beautiful paradise. I want the world to know there is no man, no woman in political office today, 2013, on the 11th day of the 5th month, can repudiate anything that I have said and will say. Now, the history of this country belongs to everyone. All of the history, not 50% of the history, but 100% of the history, in respect to the independence, the 40-year Independence Celebration Anniversary Committee is concerned, and myself. As far as I'm concerned, Willis Miller was in World War II. Willis Miller came back and went on the contract days. Willis Miller came back home and founded his family. Willis Miller learned how to build sailing native sloops. Native sloops, world, that our old men today have one of our national pastime, regatta. That's those native sloops. My grandfather had to learn how to build them in his quest to save himself and his family, because you lived based upon your knowledge, your understanding, your wisdom. Everything in those days was founded on the name Jesus. He was yesterday, he is today, and he is forevermore. For the Hebrew people, the name in Hebrew of Jesus has been left out in history as relates to order. So let Yahweh, truth, be known. One, that the natural resources of this country belongs to you, Madam Bahamian. Mother, you, sir, Mr. Bahamian father. The modern day pirates have your government. It is evident after 21 years of leadership between the sitting and the former prime ministers. And by the way, with the fundamental and root point in respect to collective powers and collective governing. I send a strong message in the name of the true Bahamian people, the generation that is yet unborn, and for those who are too frightened because of what the police is doing. Look what they did to me. I will tell that story. I will tell that story. I was brought before Sir Michael Barnett in 2011. That story have everything to do with General Electric Corporation in the United States of America, a very powerful company. And while I'm at it, the very same company that NAD hired to take care of their IT system, network system, that failed only on the Bahamian nation side. Only the Bahamas Air, the national airline, that were affected. All international flights were not affected. Was that a message General Electric was sending to Amos Justice Miller Israel because of Dynamis? Because of the situation between General Electric Corporation, United States of America, which is an international corporation on 7 continents, and the sitting general manager of GE Water Processing Technologies Bahamas Limited, formerly Aqua Designs Bahamas Limited. Was that a message sent to me? Because if it was, that compounds my point in respect to my patriarch father, the father of this nation. He told me, you guys were coming, and what you were coming to do, it was not to give to a people, but to take away. You thought General Electric Board of Directors, I serve you notice that the appointment of Jeffrey R. Melt in 2000, and the birth of my son in 2000, and the connection of my ex-wife being hired by General Electric Corporation in 2012, because as far as I'm concerned, Aqua Designs, which is known to be a company out of Boston, as far as I'm concerned, if you, Aqua Designs, hired my ex-wife to be a secretary in 2000, and by the 7th of May 2012, that young lady has a divorce in the past, or at least in this case, had in respect to my copy, a divorce naysay in her hand that was stamped April 10th, 2011. April 10th, pardon me, 2012. Now, April 10th, 2012 also signified the birth of the birthday of our oldest child. Our oldest child is a boy, a seed, a Hebrew Israelite seed. He needs 3 surgeries, but I'll digress from that because this is everything to do with him, that boy, that very same boy. Everything. He is a miller and he is a seed. He is my heir. And what they did and is doing to create, I guess, an international problem, because this is what this will cause, an international problem, because of the truth. The truth will be known to the world in due course, as you would have followed and studied. Yet it is an absolute major international and global conspiracy to defraud this young man out of a family historical creed and right. Hereditary creed and right. I say to the world, the wealth of Solomon and the wealth of Sheba belongs to me. This is what the world system is trying to keep away from me. Keep it away from me. You keep it away from many young men in that prison that are praying day and night for road time, that they can see their children, even if they have to be sentenced later. But they got to get out. They cannot take it to be in there, lock away every day and don't know when they're going to come out. Yet they're going through a remand process. The name of that place is called Reigning Sovereign, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth Alexandra Mary II Prison, 242, 2013 in the Bahamas. And it's egregious for how that place look. Now, the majority of the natural resources of this country is in the hands of foreigners. Today, did I have a meal for the day? Who cares? Did my children eat? My ex-wife is trying to use part of her justification of her treason is that I haven't done anything for my children in a certain period of time. Yet, what have I been doing? And why have I been doing what I have been doing on Facebook from September and Google, on Facebook in September and Twitter from September last year, okay, 2012 at least. At least. Have I not then would have done something for my children to be proud of? So then let's go back 2 years from the 7th of May 2012. Because we know I already been before Sir Michael Barnett in 2011. Arrested also later on that year for an illegal firearm that the government of this country, through the Royal Bahamas Police Force, the courts has to just do their job. So a case was placed before the court, so the courts did their job. The police, after 10 months, refused to go ahead with the case. Yet, this property was destroyed. I don't even like to go in there, because it brings back pain, emotional time, memories. So I say to Yahweh, restore your son. Restore your son, because the leaders that are there have betrayed your sons. They know they don't have any job for us. Well, they could have given us at least, they could have at least given out the majority of the jobs that the Chinese are now doing, Bilin Bahama. But the tide will run low even on their plans in this world, because they have underestimated the seed of the Yeshua. The seed of the Yeshua lives. The seed of everything that God stands for lives. through righteousness, then he reigned through righteousness. I reign through righteousness. Yet the history of this little superpower nation, God's beautiful little kingdom of little kingdoms, of his beautiful paradise. You hid me from history, but you could not hide the future of history from me. May Yahweh, who dwell in the uttermost secret part of my whole heart and my whole soul, reveal that to you. Sitting Prime Minister Mr. Christie, I leave this with you. What would you do when your daughter, the singer, and by the way, I love her music, went away in confidence, seeking to further her craft and career in singing? And when you went back, what you left was not there. You were told, or she was told, we're not going to pay, or we're not going to do what you're supposed to do. You see, every legacy, there is a spiritual part of Yahweh connected to every legacy. Political legacy, and especially spiritual legacy, simply because you have a whole lot of bad people who pretending to be good people running religious organizations and political organizations. Thus, they are in bed with secular organizations. So may the new order of the ages be Amos, Leviticus, Israel, down the road. Amos J. Miller, Israel, reigning sovereign. I reign because of my talent. I reign because those in political office today saw my talent before they came into political office today. They were the opposition. They saw my talent, and they are now doing everything in their power to prevent it, because General Electric has everything to do with it. Because the wealth of our ocean have everything to do with it. That brings into question the American government that were doing experiments in and under in the sovereign territory of the Bahamas, and the record would show, once the sitting Prime Minister is removed and the Freedom of Information Act is signed into law by the Governor General, the Governor General unfortunately finds himself, as far as I'm concerned, in questionable situation, because he represents the Queen, and this message is directed at the reigning sovereign and the British government, the American government, by way of this powerful medium. So as this is published, let it be known that my talent and my abilities that came from God and Him alone. What school did I attend? The school I attended was Yahweh Temple of Excellence. Yahweh Temple of Excellence. It's called, better known as, trusting in the Spirit of Jesus. The assured and everything the name represents is why my talent was given to the world for free. Just a little bit. The best is not yet seen because they're using the person who slept on side of me. July 10th, 2013 would have made 14 years. I cannot move on to another decent Hebrew-like relationship. It would not be justice. I must get this off my chest. So thanks to the Steve McKinney hard copy for bringing on Dr. Nelson Clark on yesterday, the 10th day of the 5th month, 2013. 1 hour after airing for 1 hour, the great King, Mr. Rodney Monka, the natural resources of this country would have cost that man at the age of 56. My mother is 68. My father is 70. All three of these, and all three of which are alive today, would have caused these people and anyone who's between the age of 40 years old and 80. And if you're older than that, then that's even more icing on your cake. Anyone from 40 years old and back to the cradle, including everyone that have passed through the grave at this very moment in the last 21 years. Under the leadership of only 2 prime ministers, they would have sat in governing and were able to create and cause great change to come into this country for 20 years ago, 20 years ago. They had 21 with 4 more to go. And I'm saying to the world and to my Bahamian, specifically to my Bahamian brothers, those who are on Facebook, those who are on Twitter, those who follow me on YouTube, our country is in the hands of modern-day pirates. Unfortunately, you cannot vote for me to be a king. I'm not a king in their standard. I'm a king because of what's in my heart. What's in my heart is the desire to do good, to live righteous before all man, and to be humble before God and God holy people. But how could I do these things when in the last 21 years, with 4 more years to go, in respect to collective powers, men and women of my color, black, and of your color, for some of us Bahamians who might hear this conversation and might agree, have led our country into destruction? I don't care who it is. And the only persons that will have a problem with this conversation are the system, the negative part of the system, and those who have allowed themselves to be tricked in 40 years to help to continue an international, global, absolute lie. Well, this used to be, as of 2010, in respect to my birth in 1970, leading up to 1973, and from 1973 to 2010, and then from 2010 to present. So when Mr. Christie then speak about 1 year, I speak about 3 years. When the country speak about 40 years, I speak about 43 years. When Bishop Ellis speak about 25 years, I speak about 65, lead going to 66. And by the way, the world is about to go into the 68th United Nations General Assembly. As the country recognized on the 2nd of June 2013, the political and governmental perspective, Her Majesty the Queen as reigning sovereign for 60 years over this nation, on that day represents the end of her sovereign reign. When the 2nd of June 2013 comes, it is God Yahweh is saying to the House of Windsor to the government of Great Britain, to the halls of Congress, and to the steps of Washington's White House, back to our Parliament of the Bahamas, all the way up to Mount Fitzgerald, that he has declared this one different. I can speak about the amount of families whose hearts are broken because of loved ones that were murdered in the last 21 years. I could speak about, in modern times, lately, men who are street men says, I did things for both of your government. And they locked the brother down, one of which they sent to America a long time ago. I will not condone violence. I will not condone. Let me digress for a minute and say this. I want every Bahamian male today, tonight, or tomorrow, or this morning, whenever you're hearing this message, to know I cannot represent your interests if some of the problems you have, or if all of the problems you have, one of which includes herb smoking, the herb smoking I can deal with. Anything other than the herb that destroys the law, I am against. That's robbery, armed robbery, that's rape, that's burglary, that's murder. I do not endorse or support those things. However, to save lives, sometimes lives must be lost. The government of this country and the world system has agreed, in my view, according to history books and the history books of this country, only the Willis Miller house and a little boy that were born on the 2nd of June 1970 can affect great change in this country 40 years later if he speaks about what happened to him at the age of 16. My birth was 1970. Okay. 1986 would have been the time. I say to God, Yahweh, thank you for your presence of your Holy Spirit, because there is no God like you. Great God Almighty, in the name of the Yeshua, now let this truth be known to every human being on the planet by way of the powerful force of God's natures, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding in respect to technology. May it be preserved for posterity, for the next generation that is yet unborn, that they would have known. I found out the truth, and I declared great words in the international circuits, and now are demanding reparation for the black generation. Oh yes, how would that take place? We're going to start from in the Bahamas, because this is the last stop. Every nation outside of this country is considered major nations. Outside of the Caribbean are considered superpower nations, first world countries. So the black people in those countries are considered taken care of. But yet, look at the destruction and devastation. Look what took place after 1948 in America. Look what was done to black people between 1948 and 2013 in respect to the Caribbean people and their natural resources, in respect to tangible financial and monetary funds coming into their hand, like how it goes into the treasury of their country. Why are the black people treated so? Thank you for asking. And this is primarily only for the black people now. It's because we choose to live the life of fidelity the life of infidelity, pardon me. We choose to live the life of infidelity over the life of righteousness. See, righteousness is what exalts an individual. Any wickedness, like robbing and murder and stealing and adultery, fornication, all of these things, I can say I have never killed anyone, but some of those things I have been guilty of. And to be alive today and say to the world, please have my humble apologies, because then I would have then acting contrary to what would have been righteous, what would have been lawful and good. But look at God. He turned my situation around. I have done great things for a young man, give and take what I would have went through in the last 3 years, coming up against two great parties, one of which is the governing party. But you see, if both parties today is costing this country's dollar in respect to the two leaders that would have led our country in 21 years and 5 days plus whatever Mr. Christie would have taken so far, I maintain that this country have been taken over by modern day pirates, and we must now return the power that these men have held for 21 years, with 4 more years to go, back over to the people. Even if we must go to an election, there must not necessarily need to be a referendum on gambling or anything in this country. Anything that Bahamian people want to do, you don't need no referendum on it. 0 referendum. All you need is to remove the sitting prime minister, and in most cases, by way of collective powers and collective responsibility for governing most of who's there now. Many of which failed my mother and father's generation, my granddaddy generation, my granddaddy and my Grammy generation, handed to Sir Lyndon something to build upon. And after 25 years, he built a powerhouse, enough that former Prime Minister, the former Right Honorable Hubert Alexander Ingram, member for North Abaco, former member of Parliament for North Abaco, and the sitting Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Member of Parliament for Centerville, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Perry Glaston Christie today, he would have held that post twice. This is the second time he's holding the post of Minister of Finance. Mr. Ingram was able to borrow $2 billion. And I'm telling the people, Mr. Christie has the power, because of the natural resources and everything that were plundered out of this country, to borrow $2 billion and see that at least $1 billion is put away in respect to the purchase of more gold. More gold. Borrow $1 billion to buy $1 billion worth of gold. Why? Because if on the New York Stock Exchange, BPC, Bahamas Petroleum Company, could already attracted because of government given agreement and international policies, that agreement through agreements, policies that were signed through agreements, and laws that were enacted upon, and agreements that were made and founded upon on laws from 1960. It is absolutely egregious as relates to the oil. I am 1,000% against any drilling of oil in the Kingdom of the Bahamas until certain matters are discussed in reference to the sitting Prime Minister and the former Prime Minister, and the handling of the Bahamian people finances as they spent time as ministers of finance, and see they were equal among many in respect to collective powers and responsibilities for governing this country in the last 21 years. So I serve every man and woman who serve with these men these documents from my heart. These are the heart of the people. The records of my grandfather's generation second this motion. My talent that I have exhibited on the world's greatest publishing social medias, digital social medias, in high definition in many cases, and the highest definition many times, and most of which was paid $10 a time to air these. Today, this one have to go Wi-Fi. Let God be praised in Yeshua's name now, the Hebrew name for Jesus our Christ. Let the negative part of everything die. This is the new order. And let the good of all come together and meet to common ground. Let the sun be in the middle, and let the little circles of the rainbow emanate as rays from the sun in digital high definition format. That is copyrighted as of this minute. Now, let God be glorified, and watch and see if His glory will not show up in our individual lives. So, again, I really reiterate, the government of the country belongs to the Bahamian sovereign people. As sure as the records of a history that were not told to them belongs to me. That gives me, along with the natural resources of this country, being under international good governing rules in respect to the sitting Universal Declaration of Human Rights document that exists today, that no nation on the face of the planet can change. Yet, when you analyze throughout the Caribbean, their constitution, their preamble of it or whatever, and what they stand for, the Bahamas is the last sitting righteous nation among many other nations. See, the Caribbean represents the Bahamas. The Bahamas represents the Caribbean. The other nations in the Caribbean represents the Caribbean and the Bahamas. And to spread together in calling on the name of the sovereign Lord, Jesus, Yeshua the Christ, that dates back to Yahweh. Now, let the negative die, and let every good sense now be seen and heard. For I walk by faith and not by sight. I can do all things through Christ the Yeshua, who strengthens me. The Lord, the Yeshua, is my shepherd. I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pasture. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for His name's sake. For yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for the Yeshua is with me. The Yeshua's wrath and the Yeshua's staff comforts me. The Yeshua prepares a table for this Lord, this young seed, this young king, this Hebrew young seed. From the dawn of time, the Hebrew seed, an order hath went out, a decree. This is now a new order. Let black and white come together and create day and night in respect to the natural resources, and tell so much so. Let all of the natural resources that were plundered out of the kingdom of the Bahamas now be given back to the people of the Bahamas by way of allowing them to showcase their talents and their abilities in every artistic form according to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948, the preamble of the Bahamian Constitution, 1973, and everything that my grandfather's lodge and everything that my grandfather's generation and their church, we call them associations, stood for, and churches and sanctuaries today stands for. May Yahweh name be glorified on the Lord's day. Great God Almighty, our man name be praised. Thank you for hearing the word of Yahweh. Go right. Now, have mercy, O Lord, upon this nation, as we have mercy upon each other, and help one another now. Go forth and be good. be righteous, judge right.